Hey everybody, it's your girl Amanda the Buzzed Artist. So today I'm going to show you all how to blend acrylics on canvas. So I've seen a lot of beginner artists who are so scared when it comes to blending, and really blending is such a fun experience, and it should be taken as a time for you to explore colors and layers and just have fun. So the way to do blending really is you're just going to want to take a large brush. I usually like to use a 3/4 inch Simply Simmons flat wash brush, and we're going to, just for the sake of an example today, we're going to start with 5 different colors. We're going to be using white, red, blue, Mars Black, titanium, white, and I got my cup of water and I have a towel as well. And of course I have an 8x10 canvas. The list of all the supplies that I do use I have in a video in the description link below, so be sure to check that out if you want to follow along with me exactly. So when it comes to blending, the one thing you need to remember is you want to make layers, and you want to build those layers one on top of the other. And most importantly, those layers should cross each other. Now, let's demonstrate what that means. So I'm going to take my 3/4 inch flat wash. I'm going to dip it in some water so I get it nice and wet. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pick a color. Let's see. Let's pick red. So I'm going to take my flat wash, and I'm just going to evenly load the red on my brush, just like so. And then what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to just lay down, a red, just like that, okay? So this is, nothing groundbreaking. I just want to go ahead and lay down a layer of red, okay? So once I've laid down that layer, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and add in another color, and I'm going to show you how to blend those. So I'm going to take that brush, I'm going to rinse it in my water, make sure it's nice and clean. And then what I'm going to do now is, let's see, what do we want to combine? Let's combine blue. So I'm going to take a little bit of blue, and just like we did with the red, I'm going to evenly load it on my brush. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add that blue, and we're going to show you how to blend that. So I'm going to go ahead next to the layer of red, and I'm going to lay down that blue. Okay? So far so good. Now when it comes to blending happens when you cross over into the previous color, especially when your canvas is still wet. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go into my red. See that? Now, I'm going to add a little water so you can see what's going on. Now, you may notice something going on here. You're going to see that there's another color that starts to pop into this, and that's that purple, right? And that's because it's combining with the red from the previous step. So, that's the first step of blending, is you've gone ahead and you've made 2 colors and you combine them together. Now, you'll notice that I see a lot of beginners, they kind of stop right here, and you'd never see that gradual transition from the red into the purple into the blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flat wash, I'm going to rinse it, and then I'm going to go back into my red, and I'm going to go and redo that layer, and this time I'm going to take that red and I'm going to drag it up into the purple. Now, by me doing this, I'm reinforcing the red, but I'm also creating that gradient with my colors. So you see how it used to be a line and now it kind of just smoothed itself out. So that's what I mean when I say when you're doing gradients and when you're doing blending, you just want to keep adding layers on top of layers while your canvas is still wet, okay? That's the most important thing. You got to do all this when your paints are wet. And that's where you get the term wet on wet, especially when you're doing your blending, because that is the optimal environment for your blends. So as you can see here, we made a really cool gradual blend. So now let's go ahead and let's go back to that blue one more time. And I'm going to show you another example. So we got the blue, we're carrying it up, up, up. Okay, I'm just going down a little bit, gradual, going up. And you'll notice that I'm doing a horizontal motion with my brush. I find this is the best way to do it, and I always put a little bit of water on my brush so that I'm not dragging the paint. Okay? Alright, so I got my blue. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in some yellow. So I got my brush nice and clean. I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab yellow, and just like I did before, I'm going to evenly load the yellow on my brush. Again, I don't want a lot of gloop on my brush because gloop is a little uncontrollable, and especially if you're just starting and you really want to get control on the gradients, you want to make sure that your brush is evenly loaded. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that edge where I stopped with the blue, and I'm going to add in that yellow. And then, remember how we talked about with the blending, I'm going to take that yellow and then I'm going to go into my blue. Hello. So you see that? You're already starting to get this really cool blend. Now I'm going to carry this. I'm not afraid to carry this into the blue, and I don't really reapply the yellow as much when I'm into the previous color, because when I do that, I wanna get that gradual shade gradient happening, and if I have less paint on my brush, that helps to drag the acrylic even further. Okay, so I'm going in, and I'm going to the tips where the green and the blue meet, and I'm just trying to smooth out that transition, and I'm just changing my brush stroke just slightly. I'm just kind of doing like little X marks to just kind of help with the transition there. Okay, now what I'm gonna do now, so I noticed that the difference between the yellow and the green is still a little much. There's not much of a transition there, so I'm gonna go back in with the yellow. Okay, just like how we did before, I'm gonna go back in with the yellow, load it, and then I'm gonna go to that part where the gradient is supposed to happen, and I go ahead and apply that color. Now you see that starts to break up the line. If ever you're trying to make a subtle gradient, you'll never see an actual boundary. You will never see where the actual yellow begins and where the actual green begins. You'll never see that straight up line. You'll see that, you know, there's parts of yellow and parts of the green and parts of the green in the yellow. And because you're doing that, that tricks your eye into seeing it blended. That is really the whole concept when it comes to making a blend. Okay? And you know what, just for giggles, let's go ahead and make one more layer. So I'm going to go back in with the yellow, and I'm just going to bring the color up into my canvas, just like so. And I'm just bringing it down, bringing it up, bringing it down. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and add in red. So I'm going to go back in with my brush. I'm going to load it on both ends with my red. And I'm going to go to the top where my yellow ended. I'm just going to go ahead and add that red. Okay. And then, you know the drill, right? So to make that blend together, I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go into the yellow. Now, here's something else too. I'm not pressing very hard on my brush when I go into the yellow. I'm just kind of letting the paint mix in with the previous color, okay? And again, like I said, you want wet on wet. You want to make sure that whenever you're laying this down, that your paint is wet when you're doing it. Okay? So that yellow could still use a little bit of work, so I'm just going to go clean my brush. I'm going to go back in, grab some yellow, load my brush evenly on both sides. Then I'm going to go back to my yellow and add that in. See how the color just kind of starts to gradually melt into each other, which is fantastic. Beautiful. So this is the technique that I use when it comes to blending anything, especially in all of my videos that I make. This is the technique that I use when it comes to blending different shades of colors into each other, or different colors into one another. So just remember, you want to make multiple layers. You want to make sure that the colors always cross into one another and you never see a pure line between one color and the next. Always want to make sure that when you're blending, that all your acrylics that you're trying to blend are wet. And you always want to make sure you have fun and you take this slow. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like this video and to subscribe to my channel so you can see more helpful videos and tutorials from me in the future. Alright everyone, I'll see you next time. Bye!